has been this Stephen A. Smith and LeBron James drama. Um, Man, this is truly crazy. And it's crazy on a lot of different fronts, honestly, man, because um, I know that, Stephen A has always had like his takes about, LeBron being the second greatest player that's ever played, and how he'll never end up live up to like Michael Jordan. As far as he's concerned, he'll never surpass Michael Jordan being number one, and and all that's fine and dandy. That's all basketball stuff. Like, who cares? But I do know, like, just from what you see on certain shows and what you hear about LeBron, that it definitely seems like he takes exception to it. Definitely seems like he has a problem, and as well he should. If you're a competitor, and you're one of the greatest to ever do anything, if you make it to that category as one of the greatest to ever do something, then naturally, if you're a true competitor, you're going to want to be the greatest at it. And while you're never going to be the greatest at anything in everybody's eyes, because everybody has a different opinion about who they feel is the goat or whatever you want to call it. So you're never going to get 100% buy-in from everybody. But I know it has to bother LeBron as a competitor to hear someone as prominent as Stephen A. Smith constantly tell him that there's nothing that he can do to ever be better than Michael Jordan or ever surpass Michael Jordan or whatever the case may be. But man, what just took place is this is not like this is has nothing to do with basketball, in my opinion. I've had a chance to sit back because I think this happened I think this happened over the weekend. I'm not 100% sure. I think it was like Saturday that this happened. I could be wrong, but I think it happened on Saturday. But whatever the case, um, so let's just get into it. LeBron and the Los Angeles Lakers was playing against the New York Knicks. It was in LA. Stephen A. Smith coincidentally had literally just signed like this massive ESPN extension. They had just given him, he had already got the bag before when he got like I think he got like, forget, I don't know, it was like $50 million. It was like 5 year $50 million or something like that, or 4 years $50 million. And now he turns around and re-ups his contract, and he just got a 5 year 100 million. They said at least $100 million. That means that he has the ability to be able to make more than that, depending on what all he's willing to do. And coincidentally, on top of that, he's able to now. I don't know if y'all been paying attention to Stephen A. lately. He's been on like the Sean Hannity show and stuff like that on Fox. He's been like a kind of a daily, not daily, but like I wouldn't even say a weekly correspondent or a weekly guest, but he's been on there multiple times, and he's actually pretty. Stephen A's always been like, he always does his homework and does his research, and not to get too off topic, but he's always been somebody that he's got a journalist background, so I feel like he's somebody that's always, regardless of what you think, he always does his homework about whatever. You're not gonna catch him off guard. So even though these Fox these Fox news anchors and stuff be trying to catch him off guard, try to catch him slipping, man, I've watched a few episodes, and he's always prepared for it, man. So the point I was trying to make is, I guess ESPN is giving him the ability to be able to stretch his platform into politics and other things that he's wanting to kind of venture into, while at the same time, I guess they're allowing him to not be a full time host on the NBA. What do you call it? The NBA pregame show that's on ESPN. So, excuse me. So not only did he get the bag again, but he also kind of got more say so and more leverage as far as like what he's able to do, and in control of his own career path. So I think that's big, man. I think anybody that hates on Stephen A. Smith um, and what he tries to do, man, is kind of crazy. I'm not acting like I'm the hugest Stephen A. Smith fan, but I am a fan of his for sure. Like, I feel like he's paving the way for a lot of different people to do, exactly what they're trying to do in this media space. So for that, man, I'll say congrats to Stephen A. for getting the bag again. So to go back to what I was my original point was so Stephen A. was at this game between the Lakers and Knicks, and I caught wind of this like later. I was not watching this game. Let me just tell y'all right now, I wasn't watching the game. I caught uh, I caught like the highlights and everything like that, but I didn't actually see the game. But what happened was apparently during the game, and it looked like when you first saw the video, it looked like it was something that took place like after the game, and that's what Stephen A. was adamant about. Like everybody thought that it took place after the game, but it actually happened in between the third and fourth quarter, or I believe that's when it happened between the third and fourth quarter. So LeBron had come out of like a timeout or whatever, and Stephen A. was like standing. If you watch the video, Stephen A. was standing up with. He said he was there with like his agent and like a couple other prominent people, and he was really just kind of coming out the hills and celebrating like this new deal that he had just gotten from ESPN. So it was kind of he was kind of there as a fan, but more so like in the celebratory, in the celebratory mood, because of what he had just done. And apparently, like he turns around, LeBron comes up to him, gets right in his face, and you could see like it was kind of crazy, man. Like if you watch the video, like you can see like LeBron like visibly like going off on him, man. And let me just quote what Stephen A. said, because he was on the Gilbert Arena show, and he basically said, I turn around and he's right here in my face and says, "Yo, you got to stop talking ish about my son. You got to stop effing with my son. That's my son. That's my son." So Um, so, anyways, that happened, and I thought Stephen A. obviously took the high road, man. I don't really know what people expected him to do or what what he was supposed to do in that instance, aside from what he actually did. Like, what was he gonna get into an arguing match with LeBron James, like on the sideline, right? I mean, that would have been the stupidest thing ever, man. He's over there celebrating his new success, his new contract. He gets blindsided by LeBron James, and it just like he handled it the best way that you could possibly handle it. Like he was just calm. He was just like, all right, man, whatever. Like you got this one. It is what it is. But I'm gonna tell you why I do agree with Stephen A. Smith, and this is another quote that he had on Gilbert Arenas. He said, "I thought it was weak. I thought it was BS." Smith said, "But in the moment, I knew that I was listening to a father." So, um, just full transparency, man. Like, I'm pretty sure you've probably heard me say this before, but LeBron James, like, he's my favorite like basketball player all time. He truly is. I like everything that he's embodied, like everything he's had to endure. He's lived up to everything that everybody thought that he couldn't live up to. I mean, he had such high expectations, and he blew all of those out of the water, and he's still doing it. But I can't rock with LeBron on this one, man. This was just crazy, and I got to side with Stephen A. Smith. If I'm going to side with anybody, and it's more of a not necessarily who was wrong, it's more of a who was more right. And I think that in this situation, for one, to come up to him at the point in which you did at a game, uh, at a public venue, where everybody can see, because you definitely did that to try to make a point so that everybody can see, oh, I'm protecting my son, whatever the case may be. And you wanted to make a spectacle of it because you knew that this is LA versus Knicks, televised game. Everybody's watching it. You know what I mean? I just thought it was, I couldn't agree more with Stephen A. Smith. I just thought it was weak. And, and I don't know what LeBron was expecting Stephen A. to get, like if he was expecting him to clap back in that moment or whatever the case may be. But he has to know Stephen A. Smith is way smarter than that. And I can't rock with him on this one, man. Like I just really thought that I thought this was a garbage move. You know what I mean? Like I thought it was weak. And the one thing that and the crazy part is, again, I've had time to watch a lot of people's takes on this. You know, I've saw like video footage of them showing like LeBron James talking to Richard Jefferson and basically just telling him like, yo, when you coming at me, talking about like, questioning how I'm, me as a dad or whatever the case may be. Like that's basically he was saying like that's when you crossing the line. And I don't necessarily think that that's what Stephen A. Smith was doing. I don't think he was ever questioning him as a parent. In fact, Stephen A. Smith goes out of his way, whether he's doing it, whether he's doing it like as as I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but whether he's sincere in what he says, um, he goes on these little rants all the time. Like anytime, like he has something negative to say about LeBron, or somebody's questioning what he has to say about LeBron, he always gives you like this whole long spiel about, oh, LeBron James is second greatest player in all of basketball history, and a great father, a great husband, a great this, that, and the other thing. And again, like whether he's doing it like half jokingly or not, which I believe he is, but I do believe there's truth to what he says as well. So I believe that you know I believe that Stephen A. Smith had no intentions of actually like questioning LeBron's you know his job as a husband, as a father, as any of that. And I get where Stephen A. Smith was coming from, but I also see LeBron James' side of it. As a father of three myself, your job is to make sure you do everything you can to protect your kids and love them and provide for them and just do everything you can for them. But the thing that LeBron James has to realize is that your son is, you can't protect him in the situation that he's in right now. You did your job, man. You and your wife Savannah have raised, to what my eyes tell me, an exceptional child, and three exceptional children so far. So you've done your job, man. You raised him. You had him in the best schools. You had him in the best basketball programs. You constantly were there, cheering for him, rooting him on. You put the word out there that you wanted to play with him and that you would do whatever it takes to play with him, and you ultimately got him into the league. Like you did that, and for anybody that has anything negative to say about that, who cares? You know what I mean? Like we've talked about this, and people have talked about this since this was even a topic as far as him getting Bronny James into the league. People have been doing this for centuries, nepotism, whatever you want to call it. Like people have been getting their kids that are not qualified, and Bronny James at largely is qualified to be in the position that he's in. Um, it's always a crapshoot when you get into the second round, and more importantly, when you get late into the second round, he was almost basically he was almost not drafted at the position he was. I think he was drafted like 55th or something like that. So, you know, even though LeBron had extreme influence of him getting drafted, it wasn't far fetched to think that he wouldn't have gotten drafted on his own. Now maybe he wouldn't have. Maybe if he had stayed, maybe he had gone back to school for one more year and shown himself a little bit more, then maybe he would have gotten drafted on his own merit. But LeBron was up against the clock, so LeBron was like, you know what, man, I'm getting older. I'm gonna put the pressure on the league, and that's just what happened. So you did your job, man. You got your son to the league, and whether people think he deserves it or not, who cares? He's there. And so, but once you did that, okay, man, like you can't save him anymore. There is no, you jumping in the water to save him from drown. Like he's gotta show and prove himself. And so the things that you were kind of doing, I get Stephen A's point. Is basically like, all right, Stephen A's whole thing was like, man, and even Stephen A said, like, I was there on the day that they walked on the court together for the first time and made history. He was like, I thought that was an amazing moment. The Griffies were there. He was like, I just thought it was amazing. And he was basically like, okay, now it's time to go to the G League, man. It's time to build yourself up through the G League. And I couldn't agree more. Like Bronny James, yes, did he get drafted? And is he an NBA player? Yeah, technically he is. But let's be honest, man. He definitely needed to develop more, and he needed to develop more in a lesser league. He needed to develop in the G League. And so he didn't really play all that much even when he was in college because he had the heart issue. And so he needs all the reps he can get, whether that be, you know NBA or G League, but I would say more so G League, because he needs to build up his. Not only does he need to build up his skill set, he needs to build up his confidence back. Um, so I couldn't agree more with Stephen A. when he was like, "Yo, you got to go. Okay, history was made. Now it's time to go to the G League. It is what it is." So so if you go back, man, and you really like, because I had a chance, and Stephen A. was really good about it. I don't watch First Take a ton, or you know, but I will say that I did tune in because I wanted to hear what Stephen A. had to say about this particular thing, and then he kind of piggybacked off of that when he was on his own podcast, and then again further jumped into it more on Gilbert Arenas' podcast. And so when he when he kind of when LeBron said what he said, and in his face or whatever, and then Stephen A. had a chance to step back, a couple of days later, he had a chance to see like the interaction with Richard Jefferson and LeBron James on the sideline. He heard that, and he was like, okay, this wasn't about Bronny, this was about LeBron. And so Stephen A. said, you basically just proved my point. You know what I mean? And so yeah, I mean, I think Stephen A.'s whole thing was just like, you know, you did what you needed to do, but now it's like, man, you got to stop this. Stop putting the pressure on the team to like, give him playing time and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like he just let everything else just kind of happen organically. And like I said, I thought that's the right way to go about it. I think it's truly unfortunate. And somebody said that, I forget who it was. Maybe it was Eric Spears or somebody that was like, you would have never walked up on Skip Bayless like that. And I couldn't agree more. Why is it that as black men, we feel like we can get away with like embarrassing other black men, but we would never try that against a white man? And I'm gonna go back all the way. I'm gonna go back to, because I said this immediately after the Will Smith and Chris Rock incident. I swear to you, I said this immediately after this happened. When he slapped Chris Rock on stage, I said to you, I said to everybody that wanted to hear, I was like, if that had been Adam Sandler that made that same joke, I promise you Will Smith wouldn't have done that to Adam Sandler. Because white people will sue the hell out of you in a heartbeat. And not that Chris Rock didn't. He did, obviously, which I'm glad that he did, because why would you want to do something like that? You know what I'm saying, to another brother, like in the eyes of the world. And I feel the same way about this incident. So whoever said that, I forget who it was, but whoever said that, they're absolutely right. Like, why do you feel like that, you could just go up to another black man, you know what I mean, and try to embarrass him in front of the world, and you would have never done that to a prominent white guy? If that was Colin Cowherd or Skip Bayless or somebody, you would have never done that. I promise you wouldn't have done that. And so I just have a big problem with it, man, because, and I don't want to turn this into a race thing, but it's just so obvious to me that, I just don't think that if the shoe was on, I just don't think he would have. I don't think he would have done that. And like I said, it sucks because, listen, man. Like I said before, like I like Stephen A. Smith. I'm not the biggest fan or anything like that, but Stephen A. faces a lot of backlash for, I think a lot of nonsense, bro. Like I just think it's so stupid when people try to come at him and basically try to pull his black card, like he be like going at brothers and stuff like that all the time. I'm like, bro, like what are y'all talking about, man? Like he he's obviously very brash and very very upfront and vocal about his thoughts and how he feels or whatever. And I think that's just what anybody. That's just how he is. But as far as like him not supporting brothers and stuff like that, man, that's crazy. Like that dude does a lot. You know what I'm saying, for trying to put brothers on and stuff like, man, look at Kendrick Perkins would not stand a chance of getting and maintaining a job, on ESPN if it wasn't for Stephen A. Smith. I promise you that if it wasn't for Stephen A. Smith, Kendrick Perkins would not still be there. And it's not that Kendrick Perkins is, I mean, he's cool, like he's funny, he says some funny stuff, that's for sure. But they wasn't letting them type of brothers with a little with the twang, a little southern twang and stuff like that, and how they talk, and they wasn't letting them kind of brothers on platforms like ESPN before Stephen A. Smith. I promise you, they was not. You know what I'm saying? And Swagoo, man, and some of these guys like Stephen A. Smith has a lot of influence on a lot of these guys. Now, conversely, Stephen A. got too much influence as it relates to other things because I can promise you that obviously he got Max Kellerman fired, which I like Max, but it is what it is. I definitely believe he got Jalen Rose fired. But that's just my thoughts. Y'all tell me what y'all think. I just think that once Jalen Rose and Molly split, I just think Stephen A. was, and maybe he was the cause of it. There's a lot of rumors going around about that, but that's another story for another day. But I just think once them two split, he was like, Molly must have went up to him and like, yo, I can't be working around him. Stephen A. like, all right, I got it. I'll handle it. We'll get him gone. Next thing you know, Jalen gone, man. So he's got positive influence and he's got negative influence, man. But regardless of what you think about him, um, like I said, man, I think it's crazy when people try to, say this wild stuff about how he just don't be supporting brothers and stuff like that, man. I think it's wild, but it is what it is, man. I mean, it's over and done with now. But I really truly hope that as two black men, man, I hope that Stephen A. Smith and LeBron James. I'm not saying that they ever got to be friends or nothing like that, but I hope they get a chance to just sit down and just just really just hash this out as men, man, because I just think this is stupid, man, and pointless and senseless, to be honest, man. Like this is you got two people that are at the top of their respective, fields. Stephen A is at the top of the top when it comes to, sports media. He's there. He's at the top. LeBron James been at the top of, the NBA for pretty much since he walked into the league almost. So it would just be cool to see the two of them sit down, man. Whether it's, whether it's Rich Paul, that kind of, because Stephen A. say he got Rich Paul number. He said he'd be hitting Rich Paul, and Rich Paul be hitting him back or whatever. And he said they be talking, and he said Rich Paul's a class act and all of that. So I'm sure it wouldn't take much for them to be able to sit down and hash it out because like I said, to me this is just pointless and senseless. But again, I'm not saying they got to be best friends or buddies or anything like that, but man, it shouldn't be at a point where it's at right now where you just feel like you could just go up to somebody and just start verbally abusing them, man, in front of the world. So, anyways, that's my take on it, man. Y'all get in the comments. Y'all let me know what y'all think about it.